of staff members as follows for Title I tutors, up to 4 days, 1 hour per day, $50 an hour, funded from Title I funds. Mary Doherty, Rachel Samia, Ryan Doonan, Diana Hayward, and Elizabeth Arsenault. The board approved to send a letter to Conway School District, to the superintendent and the chair regarding tutors, and the board approved a no trespass order to be dealt with middle school and high school principals level. You have your capital reserve fund balance, and you have the working capital reserve fund. Does anything want to be pulled out of there?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to do the minutes?
Oh, thank you. Before we get to the consent agenda, thank you, Janet.
Sorry.
I will take a motion to approve the minutes of the
There, excellent.
November 4th school board meeting. Motion by Ed,
Yep.
second by Sarah. Any other discussions, anything?
Just one thing, you have, someone fixed it? No?
I fixed it.
Okay, Robin's last name?
Yes, and I
Okay.
resent it.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. All in favor? Any opposed or abstaining? None. Carries. All right, so your consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled out of that? A lot of good happenings there. Take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Ed, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Aye.
Sorry, Jeff is babysitting.
Any opposed or abstaining?
Like a 500.
Carries. All right.
I had 3 of them, so.
Chairperson's report, meeting with the select board, sorry, will be the 16th here at 5:30. And then we will have our special school board meeting on the budget, and the budget committee is aware of that.
And is that in this room, or do you want them? What
No, let's
space
do it
do you
here.
want?
I think
Okay.
this is fine. And then regular school board meeting will be January 6th at 6 p.m. The public hearing on the budget will be on January 6th at 7 p.m. Those will be in the gym. That's all I have. Public comment?
I'll make a board comment.
Sure.
I'm looking at the cap reserve. I'm actually pretty pleased with this 140 in there after the HVAC.
Yes.
So it's a solid number.
Yep.
I feel we won't have to ask for as much.
Hopefully we'll be able to keep going and
Yeah.
not
No, I was just
draw things down too much.
right. The HVAC came in.
Yep, and we put in, what did we put?
We think through it has to do with rain, so it's getting in snow when we've had the 2 times we've had significant amounts of rain. So there is someone coming from one of the companies, the contractors, on Wednesday.
Should be warranted, I hope.
Right.
Yes, we'll all be warranted and all that, just letting you know
Well,
that.
and I was thinking leaking, I'm like, the unit itself, like
Right.
Freon or something, but the roof.
No, so somehow, they think it has to do with the flashing, that is,
Seal it properly.
Are they going to be able to
Allowing
do
it.
it in the cold?
no idea.
They'll figure it out.
They've known because it happened 2 weeks, just about 2 weeks ago. They were
A
notified
significant
of it.
amount of leaking,
Not a lot,
but
it's
still, right.
But it's
And
enough, right? It
Anything,
definitely-
Any
anything
leak in
is,
year 1
Right.
is substantial
Right,
leak
you're
in
right.
year 3.
You're
And
right.
it really is
You're
like the
right.
first time that since they finished that we had any significant amount of rain. So, yeah.
oh boy.
So, yeah, so we're dealing with that just so that you are aware. We had a good run on no leaks on the roof for
Moving
couple
on
years.
to other issues.
Playground is done. I can't speak to the finance piece of any of that project, but the playground is done. Kids are enjoying it. The septic is not finalized, so we were supposed to have somebody from Federal Pipe come last Friday, and everybody called out except for one person, and they said it was a 2-person job. So they'll be calling me to reschedule. So they're replacing one of the 2 pumps in the septic, and I'm not clear. We did replace one. I found documentation, I think 2018,
Yep.
17, 18, we found documentation of replacing one of those. So I'm hoping it's the second one and not the one that we did replace.
So, and those are,
This must be like a grinder lift pump type thing.
so the
Liquid.
holding tank is down here, right? So it's liquid up over by where the buses are parked. So they pump up to there.
So,
Can you check with federal and see if plowing and parking on the leach field is gonna be a problem? I'm guessing where it is where they're starting to park more vehicles? Okay.
Good question.
well, I can't. Come right then.
I don't know exactly where it is, but I'm guessing that's
Right.
where it is.
I think it's in front of, on the grass of the buses.
Where they
Yeah.
park.
Oh, they pull them all the way forward?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did not know
yeah. Yeah, swing through when there's cars.
that. I will.
One or two, yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I just, probably be fine, but I do.
I have to redo the
Leach
leach
in
field
December.
because of parking. Yes. Okay.
Continuing on. Leadership team update, so I just periodically want you to know that we do have a leadership team. We met today. We have a variety of things that are happening. One has been the change to the MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of support. We've talked about that. It's RTI, but it is all encompassing of academics and behavior and social emotional learning. So that has made really good progress for us to support students through that. And we appreciate that. We're looking at all the things we've accomplished since we started last year. And it's a good sized list that we will just be looking to staff to get feedback on and kind of give us some direction for next steps. Right now, we're looking at the illustrative math program and assessing its effectiveness for our students in instruction. So that's where we're currently at with that. And last month, you approved Dr. Preston for a chess club, and we have, I think, at least 6 kids that first week going, and it's just pretty exciting to see kids that don't typically do after-school program had signed up to be part of that program. So we're just excited for the opportunity for kids to try something new and to tap into, I know that the rec department had tried to do some rec stuff, some chess club stuff at the library a couple summers back. So I just think it's a good positive thing.
Yeah.
Kids are really enjoying, so
Nice.
thank you for supporting that.
Perfect.
And then if you did look at my report, and if you got your packet for me, you have those beautiful pictures of our play. That was wonderful. Our community lunch, that was fantastic. Miss Janet, and our
Miss
Veterans
Janet.
Day assembly. Somebody was significantly missed at our Veterans Day assembly, not allowed to miss again, but we did have some good. Yeah. But no, we had some good people there, and we did have, so Sarah Rodriguez is our nurse, so her husband works at Pease as well, so he had some colleagues that videoed in, and then Gary Bent did give Janet a flag, a 2-star flag, to represent that she has 2 family members serving, so, yeah.
cool.
So just pointing that out. I print them in color, because I want you to see them.
Questions for Heather? Thank you. Move on to Heather.
All right, revenue report. I'll go back to it in a minute. But no, I was excited. I did get some billing done. So ESY billing was done. I didn't book it as revenue. I kind of followed the way done to offset expenses. But after talking to the auditor today, it will show up in revenue moving forward. But if you look at page 25, the packet, about half, not quite, and function 1290, there was 16,445.32 that got billed out to, or billed out Tamworth and Freedom reimbursed. So I will move that there. And so I'm finally catching up on some of the billing things, which is exciting because that's just been lingering far too long. Not a lot of movement here, but I did want to make a point. So last year was a new formula for the adequacy aid. And Madison, of the 3 SAU 13 districts, is the only one that receives funds from the Hold Harmless grant that's part of that whole calculation. And that's a grant they're phasing out over 10 years, and it goes down by 20% every 2 years. So last year was the year 1, this year's year 2, which means next year, I think it's like $150,000 drop because of the funding decrease in the Hold Harmless. So I think we'll maybe hopefully dive into some revenues at the budget discussion, but that came out not too long ago.
Where would that show up in the budget?
So adequacies for this year we're pretty stable, and it's on the revenue.
22.
Yeah, 30, 92. So 01, 31, 10. revenue adequacy aid. We've only gotten a portion of this year's. We'll get the bigger payment in January and another one in
So
April.
92,000.
Yeah,
22.
Page 22. It was just before the.
expenditure
CIP.
report.
Right after the CIP.
There you go.
13110.
So this is only 90,000.
Right,
So 92,000 so far this year.
Right.
so next year.
So we're expecting 2 more payments. You said of that.
Yep,
About-
2 more payments of that come out to, what was it, 300, 400? I'd have to go look.
I was thinking low threes.
But there's many. Oh, and I did bill some of Jamie Buck's time for
Oh.
providing speech services to
preschool?
ECE. That does show on the revenue report under tuition local source, which I just wanted to keep it separate, and I didn't think I'd ever book anything else there. So $2,568 for the first, I think it was September, October that I had
So
hours
that's
for.
for the preschool.
Yep.
Early child. Okay.
Well, it's for Madison, but services provided to the
So
preschool.
over the course of 10 years, then we're gonna have to come up with 300,000, give or take.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So next year, 20,000.
So it doesn't go down 20% for the whole attitude. That's this really long, complicated formula. But the hold harmless grant was what they put into place to ensure that districts were guaranteed at least 104% of their estimate that they had done in February of 2022. Or February, oh my gosh, fall of 2022. So, and then when that came out and they changed the formula and that was all passed, I think in spring of 23, Madison was one that qualified for funding from that grant to ensure that they wouldn't get less, but that grant's not there forever. So,
Yep, so districts didn't feel it all at once.
right.
So we need to make sure we find ways to make that up.
Yes.
Okay.
And then expenses, I don't have a full tally on the playground yet. Sorry. I try to get that before December. The last bill for actually replacing the pump scares me a little.
It wasn't, like,
It wasn't horrible in 2018.
right.
When you did
we
it.
now
but-
figure it's gonna be like 3 times the price.
The pump.
Yeah.
So-
What about what we outlaid for the, from Primex and or the company that tapped an underground wire?
No, I will reach out to Primex and see where they're at on that.
Okay.
I sent them everything that I had, and I think there was one bill that came in right before I left on vacation that I still need to forward on to Primex.
What was that total expenditure about?
10 grand.
No.
That's what we signed on bills.
Just 10?
I don't think we have all the,
We don't have any,
I haven't seen TDs,
I thought when I looked at it, it was like.
and I haven't seen
18.
Sean's.
Oh, I've seen TDs
Oh, yeah.
and Sean's.
Yep.
I've seen it.
I've
Was
seen
Sean
those.
billed in 2
They were in the,
installments.
Right.
they were definitely in.
Well, one
In
thing was like 63, maybe.
I haven't seen them, so I don't know. I didn't know
This
that they
won't
were
load up.
finalized.
I would.
Last time I saw it, I wanted it was around 18.
Yeah.
But one of Sean's wasn't related to this. It was the propane cage.
Oh.
thing
Right.
there. That was, I saw that
Yeah.
bill for Sean.
Sure.
Right, TDs, and then
About 8 grand.
Hauser, and then,
I want to say most of the building repairs line that's on page 30 of the packet. It's the first line, that 20,000. Most of that is related to this between TD. Some of that may be the cage, Sean, and Hauser.
with building refurbishment? Is that what you said?
No, building repairs, the first line.
Oh, okay.
But would it? Because, like Paul Fournier's been here and.
Oh, I'm talking just current, so that's what was paid in.
Oh, so just
November.
what- okay.
Okay. Yeah. Check size.
So, okay.
I was.
Yeah.
Yep. So then that'll get reset, whatever we get back from that will get reset as revenues or will offset?
On the insurance, I will offset the expense because it wasn't a planned, we didn't set out on this project to
Got it.
replace any of that stuff.
Okay. All right.
But in the end, in Sean's word, it was fortuitous for it to happen now, when it wasn't frozen earth and, middle
Correct.
of winter and that,
Silver
because
lining, yeah.
there were definitely some things that needed to be addressed that nobody knew about until that happened. So, you know, it wasn't all bad in
Right,
the end.
and allowed us the opportunity to put the risers in to be able to access those without having to,
And yet again, to
And-
do
and-
things right.
Another place for the, to actually access the tank so that it pumps out fully,
right.
which
And-
was also not known.
The digger didn't send his bill yet either. The guy who did the fan-
digger?
the top, yeah. Me.
Oh.
They all sit around and watch me in a hole digging this, looking for a septic tank.
You're not getting paid.
I did stand there and watch it.
Yes.
That is true.
You're not getting paid, digger.
All right.
And my last is I added a budget timeline I hadn't done before other than the one from the DRA.
Yeah.
This I actually put the dates in of what we're looking at with
Okay.
our special meeting, and then the dates to highlight. The 14th is the last day for negotiated cost items.
Yep.
Finalize, and the last day for petition warrant articles.
And then,
If there are any, and then I kept Tuesday, January 6th is our school board meeting and public hearing with a snow date of Tuesday of
Tuesday,
the
oh, there it is, January. Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Monday.
It must be Monday. I gotta check. That must be Monday. Because
Tuesday must be the 7th.
yeah, Tuesday's the 7th.
Monday's the 6th.
Monday's the 6th.
Okay, so snow date is Tuesday. The other date, just here, Thursday, the 23rd. Carol should let the budget committee know that that is the last day for their report.
To deliver budget and warrant article recommendations to the governing body for posting.
Yep.
Do they post separately, or do we just put it within our
We
warrant
put it within our
articles?
warrant articles. And then usually the letter
Yeah, it goes in
goes
the
in the
annual report.
annual report.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
we,
I'm just questioning that date, because when does the annual report have to be out?
So
last day to post.
the annual report doesn't have to be out till
Oh, March.
4th
Okay.
before the meeting, but we usually do the whole packet for the
For the deliberative.
for the deliberative.
We have the
So we don't-
book for the deliberative.
Right, we don't have a final budget until March after the deliberative.
Correct, the final posting,
But-
which is different than
So, but we
their
need the
recommendation on the 23rd.
budget committee's recommendations before our deliberative.
And I
That's
believe
gonna
the
be
24th is the last
everything.
day for us to post everything for the deliberative session.
Right, but if the annual report needs to be done by February 3rd before the deliberative,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I'm worried that the 23rd isn't enough time. But that's all.
Right,
There's just not a lot of.
Well,
that's
we can
not a lot of
ask for it
time
earlier.
We
This
can
was
ask
off of
for
what
it.
The guideline was like the latest.
I think, in having conversations with the chair of the budget committee, I think they're very studious, so I think that
Because
if
the
we,
annual
if we
report-
ask them for it a little earlier to make our lives a little
Annual report
easier.
needs to be done by January 27th,
Okay,
so that's only a 4-day turnaround, and that includes a weekend.
right, and getting to fit in correctly and all be there so that, like,
And
when,
if there's, in the years past, I've always found typos and things that need to be, adjusted and fixed,
And we're
so.
still doing that in-house.
so if we say January
The 16th for a week if we move it back.
16th, Sarah, budget committee representative lady,
Yes.
can you, and we will, if we can put that on there, Heather, they'll be here next, on the 16th of this month.
Okay, redo this and
Yeah, that way we
Okay.
can let them know when we would like to have it by, please, and thank you.
Oh, yeah, right there, 16.
we're going to proof and print.
Yep,
We want that extra week.
yeah, I think that
Okay.
works. All right, perfect, thank you.
That's it.
All righty. Any questions for Heather?
So much today.
Mike, you're up.
All right, my report's pretty brief. So,
Nope.
One quick question before you get into that. So if is the adequacy going down, do we need to allocate more money for revenues in the next year
So-
budget?
We don't have to allocate more. It means more will be raised by taxation. So that it's hard because we spend a lot of time looking at expenditures and we don't always look at revenue, and then these are pretty big drops, so I just wanted to highlight it.
Right.
So when I go next year, we have our budget, and then I will do I wait for our last few things to come in, and I estimate revenues with Department of Revenue. And I know what the adequacy number is, and I will know it's substantially lower than it was this year. So it means we'll raise more from taxation from the town.
So our budget being the same,
Right.
we would have a higher tax rate
Yeah.
for the school.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would actually affect our 2.5%, right? Because that's based on the amount of taxation, not on the actual. Right.
Is the 2.5% based on the taxation?
It's based on taxation.
The 2.5% set aside
Yeah.
is based on the net assessment. So it's actually what is raised by taxation less the adequacy grant.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Good to know. Because, yeah, that's where it's gonna affect us hugely.
So if it's 10%, it's roughly 60,000, give or take, ish. So it's another 1% on the budget.
Right.
That'll have to be taxed.
That'll have to be raised and appropriated, or
Raised and
appropriated from taxation.
Right.
Yeah. Others, questions?
No, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Don't be sorry.
No, fine.
Just want to understand it.
So we really had a SAU 13 nurses meeting. Sarah was there, our school nurse. Heather was in attendance, as well as some of the other principals and all the school nurses. There was some guidance that came out regarding a technical advisory regarding EpiPens. So we talked a little bit about, what that looks like as far as emergency access for staff, and having EpiPens on hand based on the technical advisory. Prior, you used to not be able to have extra EpiPens without a prescription, and now that rule has changed. We talked a little bit about that. The nurses are now set up to have their meetings throughout the year. They're going to do that on their own. I try not to take offense that they don't want me there anymore, but that's okay. They're flying on their own.
But
But
they
that's
have to keep explaining what the words mean, Mike.
Yeah.
In nursing terms
Yeah,
and
exactly.
doctor terms, so.
Exactly. So no, it was a great meeting, and I'm thrilled that the collaboration is happening between all three districts.
Good.
Heather pointed out the school play. I believe it was called "How to Enchant a Bookstore."
Bookshop.
Bookshop. So close. It was excellent. I
very cute.
was really just hats off to all the kiddos. It was really, really fantastic. The staff did a great job. I know Tammy and Holly and Katie did a nice job, and others really making that happen. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody, but they're usually the big three in that. So really impressed. It was hopefully other people got to see it because it was really well done.
It was great. We loved it.
Every time I think they can't top it, they figure out a way. So really great
That was
stuff.
Tammy's number what?
49.
So close to hitting
So
that
spring
bench.
will be Tammy's
50th.
50th
Wow.
performance. Cool.
Yes, we held an SAU 13 policy meeting. Those are always riveting. So hats off to Ed for being the representative from Madison. I know Jeremy's off the hook right now, but we'll save some good ones for you, Jeremy.
I had to walk into it and said, I ain't speaking, I ain't saying nothing.
Coming from you.
We have a few more policies coming that are required. We tackled some things like, chemical hygiene that are, we talk about what chemicals we can use to do, cleaning supplies and all that stuff. So there's a couple there, but we're chipping away at that fall date. And then the last item I have is we met, I believe everyone was here for that, the joint school meeting, SAU 13. We moved the budget to public hearing. The biggest takeaway from that meeting is we ended up cutting $20,000, $10 from frontline professional development software, and 10 from the preschool playground. Again, I feel really good that we're a recipient for the Chikora Arts Foundation Artworks, and I think we'll be able to make something happen for our kiddos this summer. So I think we're still going to be in a good spot.
Okay.
The playground is sort of a thorn in my side. No. I'm not saying a word.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Mike? All right, school of business, Madison Corner Schoolhouse. So they're actually starting to gain some steam. The last meeting they had, I I made it to, there were probably, I don't know, 10 people in attendance, so it's, that have interest. Talked a little bit about the $25,000 that the town approved last year for the lead. What it would cost just for materials was right around $24,000. That didn't include removing the dirt work around the building to take care of that. So the discussion was trying to put up for another $25,000 in a warrant article for this year, which I had Heather just add to our warrant articles. For that, there was also some discussion, and I think they've asked Heather, based on it, you know, how can we use the building during the school day or while school's in session? And it really related back to their school district policies about use of the property while school's in session and kids are here for safety reasons. So it's something we may need to have to look at and address, but for now, it's just being questioned. Be nice to have people in there during the day, but
They could move it,
that's a possibility as well.
and then it
You know,
would be
then it'd be
easy
accessible.
accessible.
So I will, you know, we can talk about that, but for now, it's just kind of, that's where I'm at. Warrant article discussion, look at that, fell right in. Do you have copies of warrant articles for us?
No, because I was gonna do them for the 16th.
For the 16th, okay,
I mean, I have what's roughed in, but
yep, we can move
I have placeholders.
past
and-
over that till,
Okay.
till the. Next is scholarship discussion. So, Kathy Moore reached out to Ed. Ed reached out to me. We got going. I had heard about this years ago, and then it kind of fell. I think Sloan was working on it for us, and we didn't know how we could deal with it. But there is a scholarship trust fund. And the intent of the trust is very specific and has not been followed for many years. It was set up as a scholarship fund in 1991. The original documents of principal in 1991 was $3,000, and in 2024, there's about $11,000 in the fund. All the information on the spreadsheets gathered from the archives and Old Town reports. In late 80s and early 90s, funds were invested in many ways. Couldn't always follow the principal and income from year to year. By 1995, the pattern reverted to past practice for all the funds. So the document here, so it's the Edward Granville Scholarship Trust Fund. And holy cow, who made this smaller than it had to be? Thanks, Heather. Please hold. Signifier.
Oh, is that one of them that I?
Yeah,
No,
there we
that
go.
was just like that. Nope, that's a full page. I did not do that.
All right.
Do you want me to read it? I didn't read it.
Go ahead. Please read that.
Maybe.
The circled section.
Okay.
Can you?
Maybe the school board or, nope.
It's designee.
Yeah, scholarship committee,
You can read it? See,
Some
you're
grants and
younger than
scholarships.
me.
in such amount as they shall deem appropriate to such person or
Yeah, I can
persons
read it.
whom by reason of interest, ability, need, and scholarship shall qualify and have need for the same. In the event that all the income shall not be used in any year, it shall be added to the principal immediately.
Yeah, so I reached
job,
out to
Ed.
Kathy Moore, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
couldn't
not
do
even
it.
for me.
And that's with my glasses going,
Yeah,
full
happy
steam.
belated birthday,
Um,
by the way, Ed.
So I reached out to Kathy Moore and just said, you know, any thoughts of, you know, should we offer two $500 scholarships a year for a couple of years? And she actually came back and said $2,000 scholarship because the cost of
Nice.
secondary education is rising.
That's exciting.
And then do it for a few years and then let the fund reinvest itself. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, there's $11,000 there. $3,000 is untouchable. So we have the balance of the two. And then she also did say that there are some Granvilles still in town. I think she said up off of Pound Road, that maybe it's worth reaching out to them and see how they'd like us to utilize the money. But I think,
Will they apply for a scholarship and
Looking at old minutes
yes,
of this school board,
yes,
Jim Curran,
That's me.
Oh, boy. Here we
said
go.
trustee of the trust funds, Kathy Moore, discovered a Granville scholarship that was established in 1991
Been through this before.
with any interest earned to go to a Madison resident who had been at Madison Elementary 3 years and is graduating. So there was that stipulation.
Yes.
So
Cool.
he said he's bringing this to the board for a recommendation. It was discussed. The board authorized Jim to reach out to attorney Randall Cooper. And then in
What-
July
Of what year?
2018, Jim Kern said after doing some research, it was determined that it would be difficult to turn this into a self-sustaining fund. He said it was recommended that it be moved to the Madison Scholarship Fund, but nothing has been done yet. Sloan Jarrell said she thought it should be just left as is, and the board agreed with this.
Okay.
So I'm just letting you know that this was, no, I'm
The
sorry.
Sloan's fault. Thank you for finding that, though.
Do not blame Sloan for anything.
I just remember this coming up before, but I don't know that anyone at that time knew that it was that much. There was 11,000 sitting in there.
Right.
That never seemed to
So
come up.
let's utilize it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's to benefit the students.
Right.
If we can use it for a few years, then set it aside and put it on a tickler file to.
So add it to the high school's list of scholarships, right?
Well, I
And
would reach out to whoever, if the Granville family
Right.
wants
is
to,
truly in town.
right.
We can get in touch with someone.
What if it's a school board? When they can read it, and we can read it and read their applications,
Right.
right? And then
and
go
and
from
ask
there.
them if they, if they have something that originally was interest to
Edward Granville.
Edward Granville.
Yep.
That maybe it was
Sure.
a
Right.
trade.
Right.
Maybe it was something else.
Right. That's
and,
great.
and we can change it year to year as to what it goes for.
Sure.
But
Cool.
so
All you Madison high schoolers right now.
Sarah,
Go ahead.
you seem to know everybody.
Oh, yes. Okay, sure, I'll take it on.
Did,
I'll take it on.
wow,
No,
you
I
guys-
think Ed should.
Ed should?
Yes.
What? I don't know.
She's got a lot going on, and I know how busy she is. And Ed, should reach out to you.
Sure, I don't know any of the Granvilles, but I'll take a swing at it.
I know them well. I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
All right. So if you can just try to find them,
Sure.
get some information.
Sure.
If we can't get in touch with them, then we move on and we'll set how we
Yeah.
want it, perimeters that we want.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we'll get that to the high school.
Sure.
And then at that point, we can say, I mean, I'm okay with doing $2,000 a year for
Yeah,
a
I
few
think
years.
it's great.
We just need some methodology of application.
Right.
So,
This is totally foreign
Yeah,
to me.
so the PTO does do 2 scholarships,
Yeah,
and
scholarship.
and there's a thing that the high school does, like Go Mary or something like that.
Right, they have the huge.
They have the
So
list
they
of what-
have that
right.
for them to apply through. So if you want me to, I can follow up with them because I handle the other 2 scholarships. So I don't mind following up with them as soon as you have some criteria. Then we can get it posted through theirs, and then kids will automatically just check off the box of which ones they want to apply for.
Okay.
And then when those come in, then I can share them with board members that
Yeah.
want to be part of that
It's
process.
really neat to read their applications, like, it's really cool.
Cool.
Yeah,
I look forward to that.
yeah, it's nice.
All right.
It's hard to pick sometimes.
Thank you.
But,
First reading of policies. Speaking of Ed and his committee.
right, it doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah, I know.
So the first policy is, I believe, volunteers. So we're doing some updating to our volunteer policy. This was one that was actually held kind of in limbo for a while that never got a second read. So we brought it back to the committee and it comes before you tonight.
So are
So-
all volunteers designated or some undesignated?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank
Yes, so
you.
there's designated and undesignated.
So we don't see anything about undesignated on here, is that,
So if you're an undesignated volunteer,
should that be spelled out? Or no?
It's not what you when you're working underneath someone.
Okay,
You may not necessarily need a background check for it to be a volunteer.
okay.
So if I'm going in the classroom with Mike,
Mm-hmm.
Mike is the designated.
Mm-hmm.
I am the
Undesignated?
assistant.
Yes.
Undesignated.
Yes.
So I'm not alone.
Correct.
You could be alone.
If you're coming in to read a book
Right.
to a classroom
Right,
during
the
Read
teacher's
Across
still
America
there,
Week.
right. So
If
that's
you're-
an
If you're an
undesignated.
independent individual, you would need to have a background check if there's any chance for you to be alone with students. If you're going off-site.
Okay,
Right.
right.
That sort of thing.
So should we have that written out or no?
It's first read, so we can make any changes that.
Just curious. I mean, I don't know.
No, I think this is a great
I'm not
question.
trying to make more work.
No,
for
you're
you
not. I think
people.
sometimes
Am I
when
making more work for you?
we look through this, it's hard to see, you know, the details, and having a fresh
Right.
set of eyes on this is important.
Just if as long as it's spelled out that way, right? I
So
don't know.
definition of designated and undesignated
We
listed.
could
in-
put
Or-
in a line that just says
right.
undesignated volunteers must be accompanied
Exactly,
by
and
a
then just
designated
written out.
volunteer at all times, or something of that nature, just kind of stuff
Sure.
in there.
It's like you write policy.
We can add a line about undesignated
Does
volunteers.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I
just
think
think
Sarah should be on the policy committee.
Boy, she's really working towards that.
I'll second that.
Sure, yeah, I'll do it.
I think it helps with clarity for, you know, because background checks are involved with that. So if we know, like, nope, you need a
Yes.
background check because you're this, no,
Right.
you don't because of this, so
Right.
just,
So does this go with the email about the 3 year?
Yes.
So how many, if and when we approve this, how
Yeah.
many new criminal background, how many
Every 3
Currently-
years.
and do you have a budget line for it?
currently active volunteers will need to run to be criminally background checked, let's say, before ski season?
This year we're not starting our cycle. I think we're starting it as soon as this goes into place. We're ESSC right
So
here.
approve your first reading, but don't approve your second reading until June?
I see what you're
Or
saying.
towards the end of the, right.
Yeah, I mean, but really, it's
Except if you
based
don't
on
have one in
it's based
place.
on really when you do it. It's not gonna. It's based on, say, you know, Sarah gets a background check in August,
Mm-hmm.
and now, you know, Jim's getting a background check in May.
Right.
So it's based on when every 3 years you have to be
Right.
good, and that's for
Right, 3 year roll.
That's a state law.
And does the SU office have a current list of when they were
Yes,
background
Carol
checked?
does have that list going.
And
Okay.
some are different, like up in Conway, I know, like if you have a background check, and then you just have to fill out a piece of paper.
So yes, there's that portion. So there's two things going on. If you
Okay.
want to stay, you know, so you don't have to
Active.
get a background check every year. You need to stay active as a volunteer.
Right.
So that means that you go on the volunteer list, and Carol will send something up. Do you want to stay on this
Continuity.
list?
Right,
Right.
okay.
Because if there's a break in service,
Right.
then you need to go get your
Right.
background check redone.
Right.
But then, so rather than every year, if you break contact, it's every 3 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you, as long as
we-
you fill out that
yes.
paper.
Yeah, yeah, as long as you stay on the list,
Yep.
and we do reimburse for.
So will Carol provide us, or will you provide us at the budget meeting, that 16th, a number so that, of how many
Sure.
you
Yeah, I
think, so
sure.
we can make sure there's enough money in the budget for that?
can do that. I don't think
Because
it's
we're
anything
talking
that's gonna.
volunteers, but also that policy acts staff too.
It impacts
right?
coaches.
Substitutes, and substitutes is impact, not in the volunteer, but in the background
Coaches are
check
through the
one.
rec, so
Because
that's-
anyone that's required in the background check, like new staff, I hired a new staff person, the district is paying for that background check because that's what that policy says.
Right.
But isn't-
So,
Aren't the background checks done through the SAU for,
Yes, they're done through. But I think I
But
hear
they're
what Heather's
reimbursed.
saying. Yes, they're done
the
through.
person has to pay for them and then get reimbursed.
Correct.
We reimburse.
oh, I thought we paid for them upfront.
No,
No.
Okay.
No.
I think the town does, the town, like the rec.
Yeah, no,
but
it's alright,
that's
that
not
was,
us,
I
right?
thought we did whatever.
They
Right.
sign, like I don't,
Yeah.
like when I went through them, I,
Okay.
Because
They
I know
sign
it's
me up
like
and it-
substitutes, it's the 3-year thing as well, so I just, so it's not just volunteers, so
Sure,
we
we
should have
can
an
get-
accurate number
Sure,
of.
we can do that.
And
I don't
I
think it's
think
going to
we
be
had-
anything crazy, but sure, we can put an accurate line in there.
But I think there's a different price for if you're a volunteer compared to if you're an employee as well for background
Yes,
checks.
yes,
there
there
is.
are.
It's two different
Yes.
prices,
I
so.
think it's like a $20 difference or a $15
Yeah.
difference.
And we had some conversation about if you're a volunteer for Madison, Tamworth, and Freedom,
right.
how that was gonna be
Yeah,
paid.
yeah.
They were substitute.
Fun in your office.
Or sub, right.
Right.
same
Although
thing.
they did all approve that policy,
Yes.
so.
Okay.
But I
So
too.
we
We
should,
did
we should
too.
prove not to pay.
We
Well,
already said we
then
would.
those two will split it. I didn't say that out loud, delete.
Poor Freedom,
No,
they're
just
already,
kidding.
they're already, like, let's
No,
not
they think
do that.
They think
Well,
Okay, so
Can I make a motion to approve the first read with
with the
Changes?
the changes to be made?
Yes. Motion by Ed, second?
Yes.
By Sarah.
yes.
Jeremy, any other thoughts? Just yell out for me if you need me. All in favor?
I'll step
Aye.
in for you, Jeremy, on your policy
Any
committee.
opposed or abstaining?
Just when I want to hang out
Carries.
with me more.
All right,
Carpool,
Sure.
I'll drive.
Okay, pick me up.
acceptable
You don't like my driving skills?
GBEF-R.
Yes, this is the acceptable use policy. So we've made some changes to our acceptable use policy based on security. I just know Heather's ready to share her comments on this, so I'm trying to move past this. So yes, there are some other considerations that we have been asked to look at by administration, and we are happy to do so. So I think Heather has a few, I know Heather has a few changes she would like us to look at. So we can move this forward for a first read tonight with hearing some of those changes, but I also need to consult with the tech director as well to make sure that this does what we need to do. Because I think there's a line between convenience and also making sure we're being safe and secure. And I want to make sure that this accomplishes ideally both, but I always want to make sure we're taking that safety and security, especially in an age when cyber attacks are real and schools are paying lots of money. And I want to alleviate that risk for all our districts.
Okay. Just gonna.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Jeremy,
yeah.
I'm turning the table on you here.
It's okay.
Anybody on the board have questions? So we're gonna.
I'm just trying to follow this, cause it goes,
Right.
Would you like my copy?
Yes.
no, you're good, cause I'm reading, I'm like, wait a minute.
It's hard to
it's
see.
first-
37.
Size
But
and
it's not over-
No,
and
the other two
highlighted here,
districts.
so.
No, they've had a first reading on it. But
Right.
it goes over here, Jeff. It's not on that page. It goes,
Oh,
it goes here,
Sorry, I'm trying to save paper on all of your policies, so I shrunk it down.
there,
I got that big
there,
copy here.
It's a lot.
and there. So we haven't looked at it yet.
Okay, yes. All right. Thank you, Ed. That was,
It took me a second.
all right, so,
Let's hear what Heather has to say.
go ahead.
So there is the concern.
Thank you for your comments. I'm just kidding.
Can't take you anywhere.
About the change in procedures to switching about personal devices, and this seems to lock it down compared to right now. It's not. Like, this is my personal device. I choose to purchase and buy and use to do all of my schoolwork. So with this policy, it is going to prevent the same amount of access that I have currently. So looking and talking with Mike and with Luke, it was agreed upon that Luke would work to do a staff 2.0 internet, whatever, network
Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi
for
network,
us
yeah.
so that we would have the ability with our personal computers to print and screen share. I use my personal iPad when I teach math, and it has the software that I want on it, and I screen share.
And you're comfortable with using that, makes sense
And those
to
are
me.
the two things.
that-
So the
right.
concern is from the other side about, bringing any, bad stuff,
Vulnerabilities.
any bad stuff in. So yes, we've all talked and agreed that we would put, I've Bitdefender on. It's the same thing that the rest of the school computers have, and that we would put that on all devices, and that would be approved. So I think it's kind of addressed on page 38, number 5, except that I feel that the specific parameters should be in there of what we're looking for. So it's not just the will of whoever is in control at the time, because, that's too loosey-goosey. It should be specific of what the criteria is that we're looking for, so that way we can have a policy that we can stick to. And I also firmly believe that there should be a building level administrator who can also authorize those devices. I think that I hopefully am trustworthy enough and I'm knowledgeable enough to look at the criteria that Luke would set, or anybody else in his position, and authorize a device to be on that or not.
So rather than saying building wide, a building representative, could that be very specific to, say, the building principal?
If it's a Madison policy, I think you could say it's the building principal. I have a degree in technology. I'm
Right.
not concerned about
And I
not being able to follow those directions.
I hear Heather's concern. Where I would push back slightly is if, to Heather's earlier point, if Heather wins the megabucks tomorrow, well, she'll probably still come to work. But let's just pretend you don't come to work, Heather. She wouldn't be. We may have someone who with a totally different skill set. So I would feel comfortable that it would say something, at least some sort of checks and balances that says, you know, the building principal in consultation with the IT director, something that gives the IT director a bite at the apple as well. I think that is important.
Could we delegate authority to the IT director to have that right, to delegate someone in the building? Whether it's the building principal or you bring in a staff member who is.
Right.
Or the media specialist.
I
does
think
it.
you
Right.
need a building level person because, to your point, Luke could win the megabucks and he's out of here, and and then we're left without anything. Like I think, honestly, I think
we've
you
been there.
need someone on site that can do some of these things. They have to have access because otherwise you're
Makes
creating
sense.
a situation where one person holds all that stuff.
And they're not here and you can't get in
And
touch
then
with
they're
them,
not
and then
available.
what?
I would feel comfortable.
Then you're locked out, nobody
Yeah.
can call, nobody can answer the phone.
I would feel, I hear the concern, I really do. I would feel comfortable if there was something in there that, and I know this kind of goes without saying, but I'd like it memorialized, that in consultation with, because I think it's important that that conversation takes place where, again, Heather is extremely knowledgeable of technology, but if there's something coming out that she may not be aware with, that Luke definitely has his ears to the ground, that's his main profession, and it gets approved, and Luke said, no, we can't do. So I think there needs to be something in there to talk about the communication process and collaboration between those two individuals. I'm not, if this needs to be wordsmithed or have
Right.
additional conversation, I don't want to do that.
Right,
We
I
don't
think
need to necessarily
anything
do that
new,
tonight.
anything new wise, yes. I mean, I think it's more being able to access.
Yeah.
Being able to approve,
Being able to do things in a timely manner and efficiently, and knowing that there
Create-
needs to be a second person because it just,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we've witnessed it here more than once, that if you don't have a second person, then,
Right.
That happened to me, remember, with my PDF?
Yeah,
Am I gonna
so-
be able to get on the book fair stuff tomorrow?
I mean, I'll just make a motion to table it now. We'll wordsmith something into it
Yeah.
for the principal, whether it's the principal or IT director and/or to give delegation of authority from the top down to someone on site. And I'm not saying
Has to be.
it has to be, but something that's in the policy, that's written down, that
So,
it's done in collaboration, so that Luke then says, yep, sure, no problem, you can go ahead and do.
right, and if the
X."
parameters are clear of what they are, then they're clear. And if there's any not clear, like, oh, hey, this is weird, this is different, then of course, and I'm not gonna put anything at risk, and I
don't think anyone
other
in this
things, though.
building would do anything intentional. I think it's just that's Luke's field of expertise,
Right.
and
That's not necessarily true. There is history for this SEU of someone doing intentional things to technology.
the current people in place.
Right.
Let me say that.
On page 39, there's a question about number 7. The district reserves the right to collect any school-owned or personal devices found on the network following a cyber event for analysis. Does that include the guest network, or is that just the
should.
staff networks?
No, it should include any of
it
it.
should.
But on the guest network, it doesn't register anything, I don't believe. I don't think it registers any of the devices, and it doesn't follow any of the traffic for it either.
Can it be distinguished where that's beyond me.
I'm just throwing it out there that
You might get to MAC address at best. And
So-
then if it's me in my car driving by and I'm on the guest network, you'll never pick it up.
And what, like the gym is where, people go if there's an emergency, and that's.
Hey, I'm glad we have a guest
Where-
network, because we never
Right.
did before. Like,
Right.
everybody knew Nosy Dam. Like,
And now you have all,
Right.
like, townspeople,
yeah. So it was just a
There.
question, just looking for
Yeah.
clarity on that. And I know this only applies to staff, though. So, but still, it's about staff, so if the staff personal devices aren't on
Doesn't say anything
a
about
regular,
staff.
huh?
Doesn't say anything about staff.
It's a staff
G
policy.
is a staff policy.
It's a staff policy.
Yeah,
So
what,
G is staff, J is
Student.
student.
And then I think there might be a typo there on School District Internet Code of Conduct, number 1, protect his or her internet log from others. Is that supposed to be login? I just wasn't clear on that one. Internet log.
Depends, it depends on what
Yeah.
type of traffic they keep.
right.
Well, I just didn't, to me, it made more sense that it was to protect your login from others, but
Right, but it might be a traffic log. I'm not sure what traffic they monitor and what they store.
just asking for clarity, that's all.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Sorry, yes, I did read through this. I do have thoughts.
I think.
So can I make a suggestion that maybe Heather, Luke, and Ed.
Sit down.
Policy guy. Sit down at some point.
Yeah.
Go over this. And then bring it back. I'm gonna venture to push this down the road a little bit, hopefully
Yeah.
not screw everybody up, to March. Then you can come. But January, we have the public hearing.
Yeah.
February, we have the deliberative session. So if we push it down the road to March and maybe have Luke come to the meeting so we can get all players
Yep.
invested together.
I think that is fine by me.
If that works.
And this, I know it needs to be updated, but is it like by law?
Is it
Has
critical?
to be done now.
Yeah, it's part of also our compliance with Primex. That's our insurance provider, and they need to make sure that we have these policies in place as well. So,
Do we?
We have a policy in place.
but that meets the standard. They're, and let me be clear, they're not going to go through this, but they're going to want to make sure you have an acceptable use policy that accomplishes, some of the
What we need to
Yeah,
do.
So
exactly.
they're going to be okay with us working this till March?
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, this isn't something that is something that Luke really feels we need to address sooner than later. But this is not anything that we need to provide in the next month or two.
But in the meantime, he's making a lot of security updates and
Yes.
upgrades and stuff that aren't related to this.
Yes.
So there are a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes.
Scenes that are.
And we
keeping
also
us-
need to get the student acceptable use policy in place, but we wanted to start with staff because we thought that would be the easiest one to start with, but little did we know.
But
Can we probably get them together? So
Yeah.
that if we make a change,
Yeah.
Yep.
if it's here, we get the same wording.
right, so
together.
right, if it says the IT director must.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be the IT director or.
Yeah, sure.
Just so they don't conflict with each other.
Sure.
If we make changes.
Yep. I think
That's a
we'll
great
use this.
idea.
That is a great idea. We'll use this one as a base and then copy everything from this
Right.
to the student one that applies.
So I just have a question.
Yes.
Does the current policy that we have in place, meet the basic intent currently? And we're just looking
Sure.
to add on to it?
Yeah, this one's really addressing personal devices, which we've kind of really not enforced. So everything else I feel very comfortable that may not be memorialized in policy is being carried through procedurally. This one is more about personal devices in the building. This part of it anyways.
So we'll kick this down to March. We'll call it back to committee. All right. Moving on to old business.
Great, can I add to that?
To old business? Yeah, what do you need to add? Another policy?
I just forgot
no.
that I do have some quotes on the phase 2 playground. Just thought I'd let you know. And one is, the cheapest one is like 60,000. So I just wanted you to have some numbers in your head.
Thank you.
And that includes installation and everything. It's 65,000 is the cheapest one, and not from the same company, but.
What's
This is
the-
for-
This is for phase 2 of the playground, which would be the
Like a
adaptive.
handicapped, accessible, adaptive playground
Right,
that
okay.
where the fire truck is. So we have 3 different proposals. So I just, because we had talked about it and left some money in the budget for it, hoping to get a matching grant, I just wanted to give an update of what we had for quotes. All he gave them to me.
When's phase 3?
There is no phase 3.
Well,
There is
just
no
making a
phase
joke.
3, Sarah? Is there a phase 3?
I guess.
Don't ask
I
the
guess
question you don't, want the answer to.
Right.
At least we're.
Phase 3 is, the Ferris wheel.
Sky wheel, come on, Ferris wheels are of the past.
Okay.
Okay.
And is that one edible? Looks like the kid's eating the bar on the front. Can you see that picture too? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Checking.
Thank
All
you,
right.
just letting you
Moving
know.
on, Jen.
Moving on. So, second reading of policies. I am reading alphabet soup only. ACF, ADB, ADC, DAFB, GB, CD-R-RG, GBEC, GBED, IHBA, IHBA-R, JI, JICD, JICG, JKAA.
Can we do those individually? I have comments.
Please
Sorry,
hold.
Jim, I didn't get all that. Could you say that again?
Sure can. Wait a minute, hold on a second. Recording secretary, can you read that back? No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody's
Scissors.
I will take a motion to approve as a second reading
Crowd.
adoption by Ed, second by Sarah. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? None. Carries. Thank you.
Motion adjourned?
Sorry, it's not on here.
I got it ready.
I can't amend the agenda until the beginning of the meeting.
Hotel California.
Yeah. 7:32, I have a motion to adjourn.
Oh my god.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jeremy, thank you.
Jeremy,
Sarah.
Thank you, Jeremy. Yes.
Oh,
Thank
that
you,
was
Thank you.
Jeremy. Thanks for everything.